Point number 2 in our daily preparation checklist is to check our maximum flow rate. To set the maximum flow, we need to go to menu level 2, F2, and we need to change our flow rate from being at its current value to 1 of 1,000. And if you look at line B in new measurements, the third parameter is your flow rate. And you'll notice that there is a difference between what you're asking for and what the instrument actually achieves. Your instrument will not be able to achieve 1,000 micromoles. A typical maximum flow rate is above 650 micromoles per second. And each instrument is a little bit different. And what we want to do is start with your chemical tubes on the full bypass position. So go ahead and move the knurled nut on the top of the chemical tubes until they're finger tight in the bypass direction. And then I want you to take a look at menu level B. The third parameter is flow rate, and make sure that that's at least above 650. The next point that we want to do is to check the flow restrictions through each chemical tube. We do this by moving the knurled knob from the full bypass position to the full scrub position. And when we do that, we should see a drop in flow rate, but the drop should not be greater than 10 micromoles of flow. So let's go ahead and do that with the first chemical tube. And watch what happens on line B for flow. My flow for that particular tube dropped about 8 micromoles per second, which is completely acceptable. And let's go ahead and move your next tube. Again, wait a few moments and then check and see what happens to flow. For my desiccant tube, my flow only dropped 2 micromoles. So you may see differences in how much flow is reduced through each particular tube. But as long as there's no more than a 10 micromole per second drop per tube, then both of the flow restrictions are adequate. If you should find that your flow restriction is greater than that, then it could indicate that there is a blockage somewhere in your chemical tube. And a very common place for blockage to occur are these filters. There's one located at the upper part of your column, and there's one located at the bottom of your column. And both of those filters can become clogged, and there are spares in your spare parts kit should you need to replace them. Another place for flow restrictions is on the top of your chemical tube. You will see 2 small Tygon pieces of tubing. They can become clogged if you have left your scrub knob in either the full scrub or the full bypass position. I'm going to take this apart to show you what the mechanism looks like. When you have the scrub knob in either the full scrub or the full bypass position, this brass rod moves to crimp either this tube or this tube closed. And if you've left it that way for an extended period of time, you may find that the tubing needs to be replaced. In which case you can pull the tubing off and replace it with some spare tubing that's in your spare parts kit. And there are also detailed instructions and pictures in book 3 of the manual if you need to do this.